Hello and welcome to this project I got going on. I am swapping the rear end of this wonderful Sunfire with the rear end of this wonderful Chevy S10. It has big boy wheels on it, the same size rim, but the bolt pattern is I think like 114 compared to like just 100. You can see those are the two tires off of the Sunfire compared to that's the tire that I'm going to be putting on. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm converting the Sunfire to be rear-wheel drive, and so I need to put on the rear end that you can sort of see just the wheel studs sticking out there. So then it'll actually have a differential, because right now there's just a dummy axle in the rear. So this is the differential. I'm just poking it. It's got a tarp over top of it, because I was trying to keep maximum amount of water out, because there's no point in having it look that rusty, so it looks a little bit better than that, because clearly I took the rear end out of this S10 and then just sort of let the rear end start to be exposed to all elements instead of just like the ones that splash up from underneath. So there's the drive line there, and what is it, drive line, drive shaft, and fuel tank rusted. Like, I mean, it used to look more like this, and now it's like, it's all just surface rust. So if I had a sandblaster, I could just spray it off and paint it, but I don't have a sandblaster, so in the meantime, it's just gonna look really ugly. Anyway, so I just disconnected it from the leaf spring. That's what was holding, like, I guess, like the wheel bearing. And then, oops, there goes my socket I needed. Okay, and I took the differential, disconnected the exhaust so I had more space. And, oh, look at you having some fun, hey? What are you playing with? What is that? Is it a lug nut? What are you doing? Anyway, so, that's the gist of it. I just took the exhaust out of the Sunfire to make some more space, and I did convert the sedan to have the GT dual exhaust. So I had two mufflers to take out, and there it is. So now I just disconnected the strut mount from up here on both sides, and now I am just taking off the bolt here. So then I should be able to just slide the suspension out, and then I'm going to take the dummy axle off, which is connected there, and then it goes through there, and then it's connected on the other side. And then I'll probably have to relocate whatever this thing is. I genuinely don't know what it is, and I might have to, like, I don't keep my spare tire in here. There's nothing in here. This is the spare tire holder, so I'll probably just cut that out and then weld metal just so that it'll be, so the trunk will be flat instead of having the dip down where the spare tire goes. I genuinely just don't, oh, you know what, the spare tire is in there, but I can just move it somewhere else. I don't really care. This back seat has a subwoofer in the back, so people don't typically sit there, especially because underneath the seat is where I keep my socket sit. So I'll probably just, I don't know, I can keep the spare tire behind my driver's seat. Yeah, anyway, car. It's just a 2004 Sunfire, and it's a 98 S10, and I'm doing an engine swap and a drivetrain swap, and then the drivetrain and engine from here, well, okay, not the drivetrain is probably just gonna go to scrap metal, but the engine from here I am putting in the Sunfire over there, because that Sunfire's engine blew up because my girlfriend was driving it without oil, and eventually the head just cracked, and now it sounds awful, and the fumes going everywhere, and it doesn't idle, and she forgot that she had an oil leak, and basically just kept on driving it when there was no oil, and now it's dead. So, same engine in this car and that car, so I'm just going to take that one out and then stick this one in. I was planning on doing this swap before her engine blew up, so now it's just given me more motivation to actually do the swap. Starting with the rear end, just because it's a little bit more simple, it's a little bit less complicated, pretty much just everything I said is what I've got to do. Instead of having the leaf suspension in the rear, I'm going to be taking what holds the strut and spring to this wheel hub. I'm just going to click that over to the axle that's over there, and then it should all work relatively well. No guarantees, probably going to run into problems, but you know, that's what happens when you do something as ridiculous as converting a flippin' Sunfire to being rear-wheel drive. And then I'm not actually going to bother putting the drive shaft in yet, because I know that there's not very much space for the drive shaft, so I'm going to actually need to disconnect the exhaust, and then basically where the exhaust runs is where the drive shaft is going to be, and then I'm going to take basically the, not necessarily the exhaust from here, because that also runs underneath the truck, and the truck has more clearance, so I'm either going to have to lift the Sunfire, which honestly, with how much bigger the tires are, that is like another like 4-inch lift. So then either the exhaust or the drive shaft will have to be lower down, or I'll just do like a side dump exhaust that'll just come out like over here or whatever, and then the exhaust pipe won't be in the way. It'll just be a down pipe and then side exhaust, and then it won't be in the way. So that's sort of what I got going on here, and I decided it would be a good idea to film this, because this is one of those things that if anybody is ridiculous enough to want to try to do this themselves, I mean, it's a fun project. If you have another vehicle that you can daily, which, I mean, that's my van. It's a little beat up, but it's fine. It's safetied. This is safetied. So basically I can do anything I want to this, and I won't be able to resell it, but as long as it's in my name, it'll be road legal. And then that van, as long as, well, my dad just sold it to me, so you don't need to get a safety from father to son. So even though it looks like that, it is still road legal. So anyway, I'm going to be dailying that van probably for like the next month while I do this project, and then hopefully my girlfriend will have a car very soon, because I'm hoping to just stick the rear end in there, and then I'll be able to, I'm not going to actually hook it up to the engine yet, because, you know, I need to swap the engine that's actually still in this truck. So I'm just going to have the rear axle, instead of it being a dummy axle, it'll actually be like a live axle, but it won't spin, because I won't have the drive shaft plugged in. But that's all right. It'll just be there, and then basically will be encouragement for me to keep on going, because it's like, yeah, look what I did. I'm going to keep on going instead of giving up. And it's just a good place to start, because it'll be a little bit simpler than swapping an engine from a truck into a car. It is just a 2-liter 4-cylinder, like an inline 4. So it's going to actually be a little bit smaller, well, roughly the same size, because it's an Ecotec engine. Those are tiny, but this is just like, yeah, it's basically the baby Vortec motor, not the V6 Vortec, not the 4.3. It is literally a 2-liter. It's an LN2 engine, and the LN2 was basically the baby Vortec, quote unquote. So I'm going to stick a baby Vortec in here, and then, yeah, so it should be roughly the same size. It's just, I think this engine is transverse, and this one is not, so I'm going to have to get different engine mounts and everything, so then the engine will be able to sit, because, like, right now the engine is sideways. That's what it means by transverse. Well, this one is actually straight, so I'm going to have to rotate it. And then, yeah, basically that's the whole gist of everything I'm doing. You've probably noticed that well, I mean, people may argue that I'm a bit of a racer, because it's like race-inspired car, what is it? What does RACE stand for? Race-inspired car edits? I don't know. Car equipment? Anyway, so I have a wing from a Subaru STI, and I have a hood scoop from a Subaru STI, and reason actually being is it's not completely race, like it is, I guess, like race-inspired, but like it's race-inspired from a stock Subaru. Like, this is what comes on a stock Subaru STI, so I mean, whatever. You could call it rice from factory, besides the fact that it didn't come factory on the Sunfire. But the reason why I'm actually doing this is just because I wanted, well, here's the progression of how things happened. The progression was I got the hood scoop because I decided I wanted to do a Ram style intake, but I also wanted it to be a cold air intake. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, but not really. Anyway, my air filter is right in here. My air filter is actually in here. It's poking through the hood. And in Manitoba, it is illegal to have your engine obstructing your view. And I didn't want people to argue that, you know, I didn't want to get a potential ticket from having my air filter sticking through my hood, because technically your air filter is, I guess, like an engine component. So I didn't want to get a fine for that. I just realized that I just zoomed out. Wow, I can zoom out so that it's almost like a fish lens here. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. I'm going to keep that. Okay, gotta love a Samsung Galaxy S10. Woo. Anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on here. I just didn't want to get a potential ticket from having an air filter stick through my hood. One of the style of, I guess the actual name for the style of air filter that I have going on there, or air intake, would be the unicorn, like unicorn air intake. If you Google it, I think you'll have some images come up where basically they just have like the intake pipe go through the hood and then have the air filter attached to it. But the thing that I found stupid about that was, if you don't have like a pre-filter on it, then, you know, it rains and you're just going to suck in water or anything. So I actually have a pre-filter on it as well, and I have the hood scoop over top of it. So there we go. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I have this long ass hood, because Sunfires have really long hoods, and I have a STI hood scoop on the very front of it, because the engine is here. Well, it's the engine is about here, and so the air filter sticks out here. So I wasn't able to line it up where it goes on Subarus, which would be like the middle. So I had to put it at the front, and I was like, you know what? It looks really weird having such a long... I just realized I'm recording this whole video like horizontal, so that's kind of awful, but it's okay. I'll see what I can do about that. Maybe I'll get some... I don't know. There's not much I can do about it now.